And here we are. Yes. Zack Snyder's Justice League coming to HBO Max. And here we are at the Hollywood Reporter detailing what was already in the works and many suspected. So I will link the article down below and we'll go through some of the details here. But and just recently, a lot of different rumors and ideas that for the HBO Max streaming service, you could do an actual mini series out of the footage, and that may be what they'll do. So it could be a 4-hour movie or 6 episodes or chapters for this version of Justice League. So apparently, Monday morning in November. Yes, that's which was the anniversary of the release of the theatrical Justice League that Joss Whedon did. So anyway, they got a call at 7 a.m. Saying, yeah, it's a go. So, and of course, the article recaps the movement of the release the Snyder Cut, and that it gained a lot of steam that month. And of course, you had Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck adding their names in the Twitter hashtag, and so that made quite the difference. And so there you go. So a lot of people saw Toby Emmerich as one of the villains, if you will, in this whole thing. But apparently, he was moved enough by the movement to contact Zack Snyder and said, hey, you will, let's talk about this. So, he said, this is real. People out there want it. Would you guys ever consider doing something? Was what Emmerich was asking as Zack Snyder recalls this. So, he had his screening, which unfortunately, due to my working nights, I slept through. Hopefully, and I'm pretty sure he did it with the Batman versus Superman screening. It'll be available on Vero and YouTube eventually, so you can watch it in its entirety. And I assume the same with Man of Steel. But he ended that with saying, yes, his version of Justice League was indeed real, and that it was coming to HBO Max. And is expected to debut next year. That's the bad news. The good news, of course, yeah, it's a done deal. It's happening, The only thing left is the details of how they want to present it. Miniseries or 4-hour movie. Why not both? And so that's the deal there. So yeah, you got to wait. And that's obviously because of the outbreak and what it's done to movie production. And otherwise, boy, and I'm guessing the 4-hour movie version probably would have been what they would have gone with had the outbreak not happened. And he could have got his team together to be working on it these past few months, since January. And that would be available on HBO Max next week, or wait. This week? Is it? No, next week, I think. Anyway, when it debuts. And unfortunately, well, we know the rest on that. So yeah, the only thing mystery left is whether it be a 4-hour movie or 6 chapters as a series. And this article doesn't go into what happens next, but you understand the original plot of Zack Snyder's movies to set up 2 more Justice League movies. So, are they going to change it to where it has an ending within the storyline as it is? I don't know, or if it's so successful and so well received on HBO Max, say, hey, Zack, are you game to shoot more adventures within this storyline so that it will really finish off the ultimate story, which, spoiler, sadly ends in the demise of the Caped Crusader. But otherwise, it doesn't really end. It's kind of, this, I don't know if it's a cliffhanger per se, but it sort of leaves it open at the end there with the reveal of Darkseid. But anyway, so it goes on about he didn't watch the theatrical release. You know, it's not one of those things about, you know, when you break up with a girlfriend, you don't really want to see her with her new boyfriend. That sort of thing. And he says that probably what was in that movie was only a fourth of what he did, and that's been discussed before. The cost range of what he wants to do with putting it in this new version has been the range being 20 million, and some say it might be closer to 30 million. But this always happens. You might budget it for 20 million, but more times than not, things do go over budget. Hopefully not too much. But that's the way it goes when you hit the ground running and things can come up that you didn't anticipate that can increase costs. And so, yeah, so somewhere in that range is probably where it's at as to what he needs to do to put this thing together. So he says that, yeah, it'll be an entirely new thing, and especially talking. So that's the deal here. So so the people see it never existed. That's not what the article is saying. So he talks about his, the fourth. He says initially he thought it was just going to be footage that would be used in a documentary some years later or something like that. He never thought it would ever get any kind of release. But then here he is. Deborah Snyder's wife talks about with the new platform streaming service, you can have something like this. You can't release something like this theatrically. Yeah, a 4-hour movie. Wasn't it? So, you know, this happens with Zack Snyder movies. It's like the Watchmen, how long that thing is in its entirety. Obviously, he shot all of that, but he was thinking of a Blu-ray and DVD release, which is what happened. And you got the ultimate collection of Watchmen and all that sort of stuff. And it's really good. I really like that. And then, of course, Batman versus Superman, the ultimate cut. I like the movie. I see it as a flawed movie. I know there's other people in the Snyder cut think it's brilliant. I understand that, but I see it as flawed on a number of reasons. However, the ultimate cut, as the director's cut that is released on Blu-ray, that's the one you should watch. It's far more better. The plot has more detail to it, especially Lex Luthor's plot and all that. And it just makes more sense that way. And the theatrical cut, not so much. It's too much not there. And so that's the way these things go with the story. Zack apparently is a very windy guy. He takes a long time to tell his story. And so he was probably thinking, yeah, we'll have this theatrical cut. In fact, he did. It's in here somewhere, which is what I suspected. He had a 2-hour, 20-minute cut, that he was working on before the unfortunate, tragedy, with his daughter happened, and, he exited the project. So that more than likely would have been the one you would have seen. How different is that one from the theatrical one? I don't know, but this pretty much brings forth that not only is there a Snyder cut, there's actually more than one. There's his original idea that never got okayed, which was the script. Then there's the one he shot. That's this 4-hour thing. And then he cut it down to the 2 hours, 20-minute version that is acknowledged here for the first time, the actual runtime of what this was. And didn't quite get to finish it. And that's what Joss Whedon took and then did his version of it. Which, well, you saw the results. So it would be interesting if that was also available to see and see how different it is. My guess is one of the most important aspects is the plot motive for Steppenwolf. It's just really not well defined and just rather silly in the actual theatrical release. And from what Zack has talked about and what it was all about and everything, it makes more sense about his motives against Darkseid and all that. And of course, you have to have Darkseid in the film. He's not in it in the theatrical one. So of course you couldn't use that motive. Even though he mentions the name, it's kind of like, what's that? You know, DC fan knows, but you know, so I'm thinking that was probably always more complete, even in this shorter version, but we'll probably never see that one. So unfinished, yes. Not exist, no, even though this article says it never existed. But what does exist, I No, you can't be both. So, I don't think anyone ever really thought that there was this full, complete, ready to go to the shelf, because it would have been there. There would have been this other cut available on Blu-ray and all that to recoup the costs and whatnot. But yeah. So, it doesn't exist. That was more of the cult-like reaction to it, because it was based on absolute nothing. The idea that there was nothing at all was ridiculous. This man was working on this for quite a while. So there's something. Anyway, so yeah, whatever. You lose, we win. Yeah. So anyway, it goes into details about what they're going to, so it's still up in the air a bit as to what form it will take, 4-hour movie or 6-chapter miniseries. And they'll have that on HBOMax. So do check out the article, and it's a nice little chit-chat. We finally get the details of what they're working on, and it goes into who they called up. They said they got to get the team back together, and they've said the visual effects people have already been working on this, and they were, of course, there's some pride they take in this because a lot of them are out of work because of the outbreak, but here was work for them to do. And so whatever scenes that they'd already done for the cut that he was going to release, they've been working on, and it's probably already complete. That's what they've been working on to finish up. Plus, dialogue will be a new dialogue to make this new version work. And so the first person they called was Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, who's also certainly one of the actors who's very enthusiastic about it, wanting it to see it released and everything. And so they called him up, and you're kidding me, right? No, it's no joke. It's not April. So there you go. So there'll be Justice League, and Army of the Dead will also debut on Netflix. So yeah, it should be a good year for Zack Snyder. So there you go. And he gives a nice little nod to Warner. So they kissed and made up. They're back together. Because it says it goes back to the pedigree of the Warner Brothers being a directors and artists studio and all that. Because look, and again, in the past, even though theatrical releases was not what Snyder would have intended, his vision does get released. It did on Blu-ray and whatnot, which I would have thought originally would have happened. But now we see what the stumbling blocks were, and a kind of a battle over what version of it would be ultimately released. And this is the story and vision that Zack Snyder wanted. Now, the other thing is, will we see the version of Steppenwolf we saw in the theatrical release, or the monster version? I'm thinking the monster version. The only version of him in action I've seen is this unfinished visual effects of the battle between Steppenwolf and the Atlanteans, and it looks like that monster version. It's not finished, but that's what he looks like. Everything else that when Zack Snyder would tease on Vero, his little snapshots, the black and white images, was the Steppenwolf you saw. And so I'm wondering, but I'm guessing with visual effects being done and taking this amount of time, it's probably not going to look like that. It's probably going to look like the monster version. So things like that. Well, we'll see. And I'm guessing that the rumors about the teaser, it doesn't say that in this article, will be on HBO Max, where they might actually have Zack Snyder discuss it as a promo for the project to get some, the entry, because the idea is for this to bring you in to subscribe to HBO Max. So we've got this, it's coming. That much would have been better to have it released now, but of course they can't, outbreak and everything. And so now this idea of the 6 chapters, I don't know, maybe they would have gone ahead anyway. He would have had the first episode ready to go. But I mean, I don't know, how long do you spread that out? I'm assuming week by week, but can't do it as of now, and that's just too bad. So congratulations to everybody, certainly Zack Snyder and his crew, and for everybody involved in the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. Well done. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? Check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you, most notably my comic book Night over at IndiePlanet.com. You can catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, which I'll be discussing this further on that, over at RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos over at BitChute.